Is this the most wonderful time of the year?
Pretty close. Pretty close. It's a tournament goes on at the end. That's pretty important too. So, but this is pretty close.
What'd you think of first practice today? I guess second first practice.
Yeah,
after
today's second practice. We're a little bit ahead of where we normally are this time of year because of the summer and the Spain trip. But this group, probably more than any other group I've had, needed this summer. So many new pieces and so many guys that will have to play key roles for us to be successful. It was really important to have those practices and be ahead of the game a little bit as we started the official, started practice leading into the season. So I feel really good about where we are. Excited about what we can become, but there's a lot of work to do between now and November 6th.
What'd you learn about this team in Spain?
They're very coachable group. So it was kind of an awkward deal in that we kind of gave them literally just the nuts and bolts. We didn't give them directions. We didn't tell them what we're building, like nothing. Like because we wanted them to look somewhat organized, And so we said, hey, here are 2 or 3 things you can do on offense. Here are 2 or 3 things you can do on defense. Now go and play against some guys who know how to play well together. And it looked like that. But what it did was it gave us a sense of their ability to adapt, to learn, to deal with some adversity, and to really help the younger guys especially understand how challenging it is to win if you're not really, really prepared. And so we go into this practice session really focusing on being the best prepared and least distracted team we can possibly be.
Before leaving for Spain, you talked about how important Javon was and how you were really pleased at the time, the way he's come along.
Yeah.
How far has he come from Spain to now?
Yeah, he's come even, I don't know how to quantify it in distance, right? But he's come even a lot further because there's one thing to practice against your teammates, and then it's another thing to go out there and play and be able to have to command everything, have the pressure that I like to put on our point guards on your shoulders. So he's handled it well. He embraces the challenge. It's almost like he wants as much as you possibly can give him, and he's willing to accept the role of a leader early on, being a guy who's playing a really important position for us. And the best part is his teammates absolutely love him, which gives us a really good chance to kind of empower him, even though he hadn't really been here that long.
Been here a while now. To flip the roster like this, how different is that? How challenging is that for
you? It's college athletics, really. Just say college basketball, college athletics in 2023. Somewhere along the summer, I was with somebody and they said, hey, I saw a graphic that you have the 4th most experience returning in the Big 12. And I'm thinking, there's no way. How could we even not be like 15th out of 14 teams? But that's everybody. A lot of people have every year turning over 7, 8, 9 people. I thought we'd be in the bottom 3rd maybe, but to be clearly in the top half is kind of the state of college athletics. So it's something we just have to adapt to. Not necessarily the ideal way to do college athletics in my view, but it's just the reality of what we're dealing with now. So our staff's done a really good job identifying some key pieces, not just Javon, but Jarius and Mike, who you guys talked to today, guys with some experience who've dealt with some stuff in their lives and their basketball careers that can help the younger guys figure out that, hard days of practice are okay. Coaches yelling at you is okay. You don't have to pack up and go home because things get a little challenging. So I've really been pleased with all 3 of those guys in terms of what we needed from them and then executing what they've done here the last 4 months.
Can a blank canvas in a way almost be beneficial?
Oh, there's no question. And again, this is with a great deal of respect for all the young men who left the program, most of which graduated. So very proud of that. But we needed a reset. And it came at a really good time because there was a great opportunity out there to reestablish a foundation of what Oklahoma State basketball needs to look like.
I need to ask you this. Yeah. Guys were huffing and puffing a little bit there at the end of the sprints, and you put Connor on the line. All of them said they were really hoping he'd make those free throws. I'm assuming you got what you wanted out of that with the made free throws.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of psychological elements of building a team into being confident and ready to play. And some of it is, dealing with some challenges and seeing one of your teammates come through in a clutch moment. And that's not a game, but they feel very confident in Connor's ability to go up there and do his job well. And so, there's some days I'll put a guy that maybe they don't expect to make it. And that'll be intentional as well. And if he comes through, I'll be happy. But if he doesn't, we'll see how they react to the moment that they have to deal with at that time.
New big man. What do you think about him so far?
Love him. Really, really dynamic. Different, very different. Even from a power forward, a four-man standpoint. We're much more skilled with Justin and Eric being our primary fours and Q playing there some. But Brandon Garrison, probably his best offensive ability right now is as a passer. He's big and strong, but he doesn't really know how to score in college yet. But he has a really good knack for finding his teammates open. Miranda's just a freak of nature. He can run those 22s when his mind's right in about 16 to 17 seconds. And then Marshall's an adult. I think the guys call him Uncle Mikey. So there you have it.
Mike was talking a little bit how, speaking of the veteran and maturity, he was saying how you kind of asked him to be a mentor a little bit for the younger guys.
Yeah.
What about him has kind of given you that trust to bring them along, and how's he doing so far with that?
Well, again, every recruit has his own story. Mike, although he's from Columbia, I didn't know him that well, but very quickly when I knew he was available, learned that I know a lot of people that know him very personally well, including his high school coaches and his AU coaches, and then even his college coach who he played for at Jacksonville, is a guy who I've mentored in this profession. So when Mike was graduating and looking for an opportunity, he actually called me and said, "Hey, I think this kid can help you, and I think you could help him." So we developed a pretty close connection pretty early on. I told him what we needed because at the time, it was looking very young across the board, and so it was a very welcoming sight to have he turned 24 in July, and then a week later or 2 weeks later, Justin McBride turned 18.
That's college athletics in 2023.
Yes, that's college athletics in 2023, but you need both. They both will have a role for us to help us have success this year.
He was saying how, because he had an injury in Spain, he wasn't able to play, but he's able to coach on the sidelines. So you kind of see yourself, do you kind of see him going on that track of coaching down the line?
Yeah, it was almost more beneficial for him to be able to use his experience off the court this summer and to let the young guys go out there and get pushed around. You guys saw the games. We played against some really good physical big guys, and I'm not sure that our young guys quite understood or respected how challenging it could be because, again, Brandon Garrison, I don't know how many times he stepped on the court and wasn't by far and away the biggest guy out there. Definitely not in his high school career, right? And so to be able to do that and understand that that's what it's going to be every day in college was really good for him. But then Mike being able to put his arms around him and give him some tidbits here and there, and then in practice, his first week or two in practice, it was noticeably different. The level of force being played with inside the paint. And he in turn has made Brandon and Isaiah much better in the last 3 weeks or so.
You tweet out the video of Isaiah. Talk about that moment.
I don't know. I don't even know really how to describe it. I've never seen it. I still don't even understand how quite it happened. But we were just kind of dummying some offense. We weren't really doing much live, but it was kind of a perfect storm, or he was just really angry. And there you go. He's got a rim to take home. I don't know how you travel with a rim, but I think it's metal. Can you go through a metal detector with that?
I bet you can check
Bring
it.
a tolerance check it.
I would assume so. It's not a weapon.
I guess. Looked like a weapon.
Yeah, you put a consonant.
In his hands, running around. Looks
That
like
was
a
assault.
weapon.
Since getting back to the States this offseason, how has the offseason changed and all has that helped you guys?
One more time. I didn't hear the first part of it.
Since getting back to the States, has your offseason program changed at all, or has it stayed the same since last year?
We did a lot of different things this summer. Again, the part of the reset was us as a staff looking in the mirror and figuring out how we could be better, how we could challenge our team to maximize its ability. In all honesty, we know we fell short last year. We own that. I own that because it falls on my lap, and we're determined and bound to get our program back to national prominence. And this summer was really important for laying a foundation with a bunch of new guys who aren't predisposed to any, anything really within our program, right? This is what we do every day. We work hard, we run sprints, we help each other. So it was really good just to reset the expectations. And sometimes what happens is young kids get bored easier now than they used to. So when you're around the same program and it looks like everybody's been able to move around, it looks like they're having fun going to different places, it kind of becomes a cool thing to think about doing. But it's also going to be something that benefits us long term, I believe, for this team.
Jerry has told me you've given him the neon light on offense. How important is his floor spacing going to be, do you think, for the rest of the
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it. It's been a big eyesore for our teams the last 3 years even, since what they call this, what were they, the twins, some sort of sharpshooting twins of some sort. Since they left, we haven't really had great shooting, and so Jarius and Connor, even Justin and Eric, Bryce Thompson, Javon's a pretty good shooter for a point guard. We'll look a lot different from a shooting standpoint, and obviously Jarius will be a big part of that with his experience, having played so many college basketball games already.
Isaiah and Brandon, both highly touted recruits coming in. Yeah. Mike Marsh had an entirely different path.
Yeah.
Is there some experiences that he can bestow on those guys that you think could help with that leadership that you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, some of it is just going to happen organically throughout the year. I talk about it all the time. You don't know until you go through this stuff how hard it is. And then you look, even at the beginning of the schedule, you play a really good team and you got to come back and have a good practice the next day because the next team is also good. And you may not know as much about that team, or you may know a lot about them, but you can't go with the emotion. And younger people are more emotional. They're more tied to the results and outcomes as opposed to the process. And Mike's experience with the process, meandering his way here, Jarius similarly, will be really, really good for those guys as adversity hits in some way, shape, or form throughout the year to kind of keep us grounded.
How's the new additions to the staff, how's that working out?
Really well. Again, we've been able to kind of balance out the responsibilities with different guys. Terrence has taken the lead on our defense. David and KP have really, hunkered down with me and trying to figure out how we can be more efficient on the offensive end. And I've been really pleased with some of the results so far. In all honesty, we're a different defensive team than we've been. It's hard not to be when we've been as good as we've been on that end. But we've also been way skewed. So I think we're going to find more balance, and we may look a little bit different because we don't have as much experience doing it together on that end. That takes time. But I think we'll get there.
How far has Q come this offseason?
Very far. I mean, he changed his body. It was the most noticeable thing when I got back from Hungary. Obviously, it was about 4 weeks that I was gone. And Q and I talked about him being more committed to being personally disciplined in terms of taking care of his body, to what he eats, how he conditions himself. And he took it to heart. He had a really good summer. He's probably been one of our more consistent performers on the court. And I certainly hope that continues as we get into the season because we'll need him. He's one of the guys who's as capable defensively as we have. And so he can really lean into that role and be a guy who establishes an identity as a defensive stopper.
Who's goofier, Q or Isaiah? Isaiah seems pretty goofy.
Isaiah may be the goofiest kid I've ever been around. Yeah, man, it's really not that close.
Okay, that's saying a lot because Q's pretty out there.
Now, I'll say this. I had a kid named Bryce Williams. Yeah, a goofy kid too.
You keep finding the goofy dudes.
Yeah, there's something about me that's attracted to these guys.
The full schedule coming out today, any games got you excited?
All of them. The first one, November 1st, we have an exhibition game. I'm excited to see our guys perform in front of whatever kind of crowd shows up for us. I hope it's a good one, our students. At every moment, signifies something a little bit different as you go into this. We'll have a scrimmage here soon, and we'll have that, and then the games get real. So, I don't believe in the big game theory. I know it's down the road in Big 12 play, but we hopefully put ourselves in position going into league play to be able to compete well in that league and be playing playing meaningful basketball in late February.
It seems like the importance of a non-con has fluctuated in your time here. As you were setting that up, what were you looking for in your non-con?
I always try to find some balance. It was harder because I knew so little about our roster for such a long time. I mean, again, I look up on April 23rd, and we're out there in workouts, and it's John Michael Wright, Bryce, and Q. I mean, I don't know if I want to play Stillwater High School. I think we'd be all right, but we only got 3 now. So it's, it was a challenge to get through and figure out what this team needed. And I think we found a schedule that was going to be good for this group, challenge them in some ways, get us away from here, play a couple neutral sites, St. Bonaventure and then Notre Dame and Auburn in New York, Tulsa and Oklahoma City. They'll be much improved. And then being able to maybe build some momentum at home. It's one of the areas we've not done as well, in all honesty, is we haven't protected our home court in a way that you should be able to at this level. And so we need to do that this season.
What's your role in scheduling teams in non-conference? Are you calling the coaches or?
So obviously we've had some transition on our staff. Keaton and Scott were really kind of tag teaming that, and then Nelson Hernandez, who kind of filled in Keaton's role. He finished it. Keaton has started because some of these games are scheduled way back, in times.
How much, as a whole, about the new guys you brought in, do you think they satisfied the needs that you had? I don't know if you had a checklist or checked everything off.
Yeah. I mean, when you don't shoot the ball well and then you turn it over a lot, it's hard to win. So it was vital that we identify guys who we thought could translate in terms of shooting the ball better as a group. Some of that is being able to execute good offense, not turn the ball over, and pass well and efficiently. And Javon was a big part of that. Eric Day was a big part of that. Jarius, a big part of that in terms of their skill set. And so we were very, very meticulous throughout the portal. And again, I know a lot of names because it's just the nature of recruiting, get thrown out there and attached to every school, really. But we got the guys that we really, really thought we needed to have to take the next step.
I don't know, I always forget these rules. Are you allowed to talk about Jeremiah Johnson at all?
I'm not allowed to talk about anybody who hasn't signed a national letter of intent or isn't already on campus.
Well, then I'll ask about Javon. What's the best part of this game?
That he's a connector in an old throwback point guard kind of way. He makes everybody feel better that the game is going to be easier for him because he's out there with them. He hits guys in stride, whether it be on driving kicks for threes or on the fast break or in pick and roll situations with a big man. Like, that's why all of our guys, when I meet with them one-on-one and talk about it, they're all excited about how much easier this game could be playing with him. Even guys who I've coached, Bryce Thompson's one of those guys. He's been a guy who's been a playmaker for us, and he's like, yeah, man, I'm going to really enjoy the opportunity to play with a point guard who's a facilitating-minded guy on the court. So I think that's his greatest attribute, is that he's connected, brings people together.
Is that good for Bryce, too, to be off the ball more? Because I know he had to be on the ball a lot last year. Is that going to make elevate him a little bit, too?
Yeah, particularly late in the year. Obviously, you lose Avery, and you try to piecemeal this thing together. Him and John Michael both had to kind of bear a little bit too much of that pressure. And now he'll take a lot off them. Not that they won't be in positions that they still need him, but him and Jamiron have really kind of spearheaded that spot. And Jarius and Connor and BT and John Michael have really kind of been more secondary ball handlers in that regard.
Did Jamiron surprise you in Spain at all? He stood out a little more to me than I thought he would.
You know what? Jamiron has to just learn how to believe in himself enough that his teammates will feel confident in him. Our staff believes in him. I think his teammates believe in him, but he's still a little gun shy. And when you're gun shy out here, it's too competitive. You kind of get lost. In Spain, he showed some fight. He showed some defensive ability to really take a guy out on the ball, particularly. Kind of gets lost off the ball still, which is typical for a freshman. But he's got a chance to be kind of a change of pace guard. Be more of a bull in a China shot, get downhill, create havoc on the defensive end, picking up guys for a court. So there's definitely a role that he can fill for us.
What can a game like y'all playing Tulsa and Oklahoma City do for your recruiting efforts and keeping the best kids in Oklahoma and playing in Oklahoma
Yeah, I mean, it's less about that. There's a probably residual benefit to being exposed to kids in that area. Hopefully, many of them can come. It's more about our fans. A lot of our fans drive from Oklahoma City up here, sometimes multiple times a week to watch us. So when an opportunity comes to maybe, give them a trip where they can maybe go to dinner in Oklahoma City and come over and see us play, not have to drive an hour. Something that we've played over there, so we haven't played. We were scheduled to play in Paycom, and I think we had a COVID outbreak a couple years ago. So it's good to be able to get back out there and play in front of our fans down there.
New arena coming to Oklahoma City, maybe. Is that?
Oh yeah.
Excites you at all? Or?
I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be like 8 years from now. I try not to get excited about things that are so far away that it could change and not happen. Right?